The rain came down like tears from the sky, cold and merciless, soaking through the thin dress of a little girl standing on the corner of a dimly lit street. Her tiny hands clutched a bundle of wilted flowers, their petals trembling in the wind. Each drop that hit her face blended with the silent tears she tried to hide. The world hurried past her, umbrellas, rushing footsteps, and glowing headlights, all indifferent to the shivering child trying to sell hope in the form of flowers. She looked no older than 9, her eyes deep pools of quiet pain and resilience. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of one good heart to change a life, then please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your small gesture can help spread more stories that remind us what humanity truly means. The girl's name was Hailey. She had once lived a life that knew laughter, the kind that filled a small house with warmth. But that was before her father's accident, before the laughter was replaced by silence and unpaid bills. Her mother, Elena, did her best, sewing clothes late into the night under the dull light of a flickering bulb. But the money was never enough. When her father died, he left behind only memories and debts. It wasn't long before their home was taken away, and they found themselves in a one-room shelter, barely managing to survive. Hailey, with her wide, innocent eyes and fragile frame, began selling flowers after school to help her mother. At first, it seemed almost sweet, the little girl with her basket of daisies and roses, standing by the market square. People would smile, buy a flower or two, and go on with their day. But over time, as faces blurred and the weather turned colder, fewer people stopped. The economy was hard. Kindness, it seemed, was harder. Yet every evening, Hailey returned home with whatever coins she had earned, placing them proudly in her mother's trembling hand. On that particular evening, the rain had been falling for hours. The streets were nearly empty. Her shoes were soaked through, her fingers numb. The small basket she carried now looked more like a burden than a dream. The flowers, once full of life, hung their heads as if surrendering to the storm. Still, Hailey stood there. She had promised her mother she wouldn't come home until she sold enough to buy bread and medicine. Cars splashed water as they passed, their headlights briefly illuminating her small figure before fading into the night. A few pedestrians glanced her way but turned their faces quickly, as though afraid her hardship might follow them home. The rain grew heavier, and the wind pushed her back, but she stayed. Her thin scarf clung to her neck, her lips trembling as she whispered silent prayers to the sky. And then, as the storm reached its fiercest, a car slowed down near the corner. The door opened, and a man stepped out, holding an umbrella. He looked to be in his late 30s, dressed in a dark coat, his expression hidden beneath the shadow of his hat. He walked toward Hailey, each step splashing through puddles. She watched him carefully, unsure if he would yell, ignore her, or simply pass by like all the rest. But he stopped, right in front of her. She looked up at him, eyes wide, unsure what to say. He bent slightly, lifting the umbrella so it covered her instead of him. For the first time in hours, she felt something warm, not from the weather, but from kindness. He asked her softly how much the flowers cost. Hailey hesitated, then whispered the small price. The man didn't even glance at the wilted bouquet. Instead, he pulled out his wallet and handed her a large bill, far more than the flowers were worth. She stared at it, her hands trembling. "Take it," he said gently, "and go home." She nodded slowly, unable to speak. As he began to walk away, she called out in a voice that cracked with emotion, "Sir, you forgot your flowers!" He turned around and smiled faintly. "Keep them," he said. "You need them. More than I do." Then he disappeared into the rain. That moment changed everything. Hailey ran home, clutching the money as if it were life itself. Her mother gasped when she saw the soaked girl holding a bill worth more than a week's wages. "Who gave you this?" she asked, frightened and amazed. But Hailey could only smile through her tears. "A kind man," she whispered. "He said I should go home." That night, for the first time in months, they ate a warm meal. Hailey laughed again, her cheeks glowing in the flickering candlelight. Her mother's weary eyes softened, though she still wondered about the stranger who had appeared like an angel in the storm days, Turned into weeks, the stranger never returned, but his act had ignited something powerful inside both mother and daughter. With the money he'd given them, Elena bought extra cloth and thread, restarting her sewing business with renewed hope. Hailey continued to sell flowers, but now she smiled as she did, no longer defeated by the world's coldness. People began noticing her again, drawn by the light in her spirit. But fate wasn't done weaving its story. One afternoon, several months later, Hailey was helping her mother deliver finished clothes to a shop across town. As they walked past a tall building, Hailey froze. On the glass door was the same man she had met that rainy night. His photo on a poster with the words, "Business Awards nominee Ethan Ross, founder of Ross Foundation for Underprivileged Children." Her heart raced. She tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mom, that's him," she whispered. Elena looked up, her eyes widening in recognition of the face she had seen only through Hailey's excited retelling. Without hesitation, they walked inside. The receptionist greeted them politely, and when Hailey asked if Mr. Ross was available, she smiled and said he was in a meeting. Hailey left her small bouquet of flowers at the front desk with a note that read, "Thank you for saving me that night. Your kindness still blooms." 2 days later, there was a knock on their door. When Elena opened it, Ethan Ross stood there, holding the very same note and flowers. He had traced the handwriting to a small local school that had recognized Hailey's name. His eyes softened when he saw her, still the same little girl, but brighter now. He knelt down and said, "You remembered me." Hailey nodded shyly. "You helped us when no one else did." Ethan smiled, but his voice trembled slightly as he replied, "You helped me too. That night, I was going to end my foundation. I thought the world didn't care anymore. But when I saw you standing in the rain, still trying to hold on to hope, I realized I was wrong." Tears filled Elena's eyes. The man who had once been a stranger was now a symbol of everything they believed in: kindness, empathy, and the quiet power of human connection. Ethan asked about their life, and when he learned about their struggles, he insisted on helping. He offered Elena a position in his foundation's sewing division where she could design uniforms and earn a steady income. He also arranged for Hailey to attend school full-time, providing scholarships for children like her who had once been forgotten by society. From that day on, their lives changed in ways they could never have imagined. Hailey's story spread throughout the city. A little girl who sold flowers in the rain and met a stranger whose heart was changed by her courage. News outlets shared it, schools discussed it, and soon, people started leaving small bouquets near corners on rainy days, hoping to honor her act of resilience. Years passed. Hailey grew into a bright young woman, full of compassion and grace. She never forgot that one stormy night, or the man who had stopped when everyone else walked away. Under the Ross Foundation, she eventually became a youth ambassador, helping children who faced the same hardships she once did. Her dream was no longer just to survive, but to make sure others didn't have to stand alone. In the rain. One evening during a charity event, she took the stage. The lights reflected off her simple white dress as she looked out at the audience, people who had come to celebrate kindness. She spoke softly, her words steady but full of emotion. "I used to think I was invisible," she said, "that no one would ever see me or care. But one stranger did, and because of him, my world changed. I learned that sometimes a single act of kindness doesn't just save one life, it ripples through time and saves countless others." As the audience rose to their feet, applauding, Ethan Ross sat among them with tears glistening in his eyes. For him, too, that rainy night had been the turning point, the moment that reminded him of the purpose he'd nearly lost. And for Hailey, it was proof that light always finds its way through the darkest storm. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to help spread more stories that celebrate humanity, love, and second chances. Comment below. Kindness always finds a way. Let's fill the world with those words and keep the light alive. Because sometimes it takes just one person stopping in the rain to change everything.